How many of you have had someone in a position of authority over you, a manager, a teacher, a coach, even a parent, try to bully you, undermine you, lie to you, or belittle you? Would you say that behavior inspired the best in you? Did it encourage your confidence and trust in them as a leader? Did you thrive in that environment? And would you say you look back on that person fondly today? I wager a guess that your answer to all of those follow-up questions are likely a no. But what about the opposite? Have you had someone in a position of authority in your life who, rather than intimidate you, inspired you, instead of bully you, supported you, who filled you with hope rather than filled you with fear? Did you thrive in that environment? Do you look back on them fondly today? I dare say the answers to those questions are likely a yes. And not just because it seems obvious to prefer kindness over cruelty, but because you are here in a Unitarian Universalist church, a member or a visitor of a faith tradition that was built on hope, values rational thinking, and holds love at its center, not fear and not cruelty. The roots of this faith tradition, which helped form the foundation of the United States, a country whose history is challenging, to put it mildly, but a country that was also built on hope. A faith tradition that, in my humble opinion, the leadership in our local and national government could use a big helping spoonful of. Because we have seen that being a leader is easy when you don't care about the welfare of those you lead. But being the kind of leader that does care, that takes work. It's hard. It means vulnerability, grace, accountability, patience, emotional maturity, commitment, sacrifice, and love of people more than ego or profit. As we together begin a new congregational year, we have a new batch of leaders amongst us who are maybe a little nervous, but hopefully also excited to step into a role that can help inspire and support those around them. And if you new leaders, or even those who are on their 5th, 6th, or 49th year of service to this congregation, need an example of what a leader who cares looks like, I present you that gift of Ted Lasso. This Apple TV show came to us in 2020, if you remember, just when we needed it most. It centers around the titular character, a Texas football coach, American football, who upon leaving his job is hired to coach an English football team, soccer. But the kicker, see what I did there, is that he's never, not even once, played nor coached soccer. Nevertheless, Coach Lasso has been described as relentlessly hopeful and boundlessly enthusiastic. Despite his team's constant string of losses in the beginning, he's determined to bring them success by leading with humor, humility, heart, and a true sense of teamwork alongside an incredible cast of hilarious characters. Now, before you all run off to watch it, which I do hope you do, I should mention that while the show is delightfully funny and warm-hearted, it does have language that would make even the most foul-mouthed pirates blush. So viewers, be warned. In between the laughs and the occasional tear, we can see Coach Lasso exemplifying so many of the values that we hold most central to our faith as UUs, and some I would hope to see exemplified in our leaders as well. So I've compiled a few important teachings from Ted Lasso, the gospel of Ted Lasso, one might say. In the first chapter of the Gospel of Ted Lasso, we find the following commandment: thou shalt embrace vulnerability. Not just in private, not just when you think you can get something from it, but as a foundational way of moving through your life. Lasso has one-liners for days. His sense of humor could easily serve as a way to hide his vulnerable side, but he rarely allows it to. In fact, he uses that humor to somehow make his accessibility or his vulnerability more accessible for others who are not used to it. He's vulnerable with friends, his coworkers and boss, and even his players. He admits his mistakes readily. He takes criticism constructively, and he knows how to comfort others. After one particularly difficult loss, he gives the following moving speech in the locker room. He says, "This is a sad moment right here for all of us, and there ain't nothing I can say standing in front of you right now that can take that away. But please do me this favor, will you? Lift your heads up and look around the locker room. Look at everybody else in here. And I want you to be grateful that you're going through this sad moment with these other folks. Because I promise you there's something worse out there than being sad, and that is being alone and being sad. Ain't nobody in this room alone. Let's be sad now. Let's be sad together." End quote. Not only does this chapter of the gospel show us that Ted Lasso can embrace his own vulnerability, but also that he encourages others to embrace theirs and to know that they are safe to do so with him. As Unitarian Universalists, vulnerability can be tricky. We can be so committed to being right, to our intellect, so passionate about what we believe that showing a potential source of weakness or a perceived fault, admitting we were wrong about something, can make us feel less than who we envision ourselves to be. But vulnerability is the only way to create real, deep relationships, both with ourselves and with others. Normalizing vulnerability takes away the sting of shame when we don't quite get it right. I think this is about 50% of the work of a faith community like this one. I envision this sanctuary, the staff offices, Morgan House, this whole property, like Coach Lasso's locker room, a place where we can all be together in our sadness, in our screw-ups, in the messiness of humanity. An effective leader cultivates this kind of environment. The next chapter of the gospel actually builds on the first, and it states, "And every male-identified person shall express their masculinity in a healthy way." Can I get an amen? Ted expresses a healthy masculinity with his family, his male and female friendships, and his colleagues. He embraces healthy masculinity by facing challenges head-on with dignity and humility, rather than running away from them. He advocates for and defends those around him, both strangers and friends, when he sees them suffering or in a struggle. He has female friendships built upon mutual respect and appreciation, creating healthy boundaries and upholding them throughout the series so that everyone feels comfortable and safe with him. He honors the roles women have in his life: boss, partner, therapist, friend, and never once questions their leadership abilities. He is self-reflective, able to change his opinion with new information rather than digging his heels in to save face. And he expresses his emotions not just in private with the women in his life, but just as frequently with the men, modeling how to process his emotions instead of being reactionary to them. In one episode, the all-male coaching staff named themselves the Diamond Dogs and gather to talk through an issue. Ted describes the Diamond Dogs as just a group of people who care, not unlike folks at a hip-hop concert with their hands not in the air. It took a minute, but you got it. An outsider joins for the first time, and anticipating guy talk about sports and traditionally manly things, he's surprised when the men sit together and talk about their feelings and relationships. They offer encouragement, advice, and support mixed in with a healthy dose of puns. One of them very sincerely says, "I have to admit, this is lovely. Ever since I was a little, I dreamed about sitting around with a bunch of my mates and discussing the complex dynamics between men and women. Again, Lasso is the leader we all need by not only expressing his masculinity in a healthy way, but by being vulnerable himself, he creates a space for others to do so as well. This chapter of the gospel speaks to us as UUs for a few different reasons. The first is that, as you can see exemplified here at Fun, many of your staff and leadership are women. This is reflective of Unitarian Universalism as a whole. But this chapter is also relevant to us because we value self-improvement and self-reflection. Like our theology, we're not bound by tradition. We do not believe that just because something has always been done a certain way, that it must remain that way forevermore. And that includes cultural ideas about gender and gender roles. We seek to shape the world into a better, kinder place. And often, that means ignoring the outside pressure to conform to expectations and trying something new to see if it serves us better. This, of course, must begin with us no matter our gender identity. And a good leader has good boundaries, respects those they lead, and can take criticism well, like Ted. Chapter 3 of the Gospel begins with, "Friends, may your apologies be as loud as your disrespect, and may your grace fall upon others as swiftly as a waterfall." One of the greatest characteristics of Lasso is his commitment to accountability and grace. When he messes up, he apologizes. And his apologies are unforced and authentic, and therefore they are especially meaningful. And when he's wronged, he forgives quickly and with tremendous grace towards the other party. He does not demand apologies and understands that people are complex and that mistakes are a part of being human. Upon a learning that he had been misled and sabotaged for a significant time by someone he cares about, he receives a heartfelt apology. And it would be easy for him in this moment to have written his friend off. But instead he says, "I forgive you. I think if you really care about someone and you got a little love in your heart, there ain't nothing you can't get through together." This is a perfect example of what it means to be UUs in covenant with one another. Taking accountability for what we've done to hurt others while extending grace to those who have hurt you. This is a difficult thing to do when we are presented with a model of grudges turning into international policies and law. Our current social climate leads us to believe the only course of action we can take when we have been hurt or wronged is to cut that person out of our lives entirely. But in the end, when true accountability and an apology is offered and not abused, no one benefits from being canceled. This is what covenant is, a commitment to a full relationship. UU or not, we can all stand to learn to be better at both asking for and providing grace. In the next chapter of the Gospel of Coach Lasso, we learn about this wise saying, "Invest in your community like it's Apple stock in the 80s. Lasso sees the value in relationships and believes we are at our best when we acknowledge our interdependence. Upon arriving at his new home and job overseas, he immediately begins to invest in his community. He doesn't make a big deal of it. He doesn't announce it. But he brings cookies to his boss, hangs out with folks in the local pub to make friends. He kicks the ball with school children in the streets each day on his way to work. It didn't matter. The goal was to ground himself again in the understanding that he's not alone, and more importantly, that he is not, in fact, the most important person in the world. In fact, he echoes this sentiment when speaking with one of the most hot-headed and arrogant players on his team. He says, "Jamie, I think that you might be so sure that you're 1 in a million that sometimes you forget that out there you're just 1 of 11. And if you just figure out some way to turn that me into us, The sky's the limit for you. Interdependence is central to healing much of what plagues us on this planet. Environmentalism, racism, sexism, all of the isms, poverty, abuse, war. I feel so strongly that all of it would be healed with a true embrace of and understanding of our deep interdependence. And despite our appreciation for independent thought and our devotion to personal freedom, our faith acknowledges that we need one another to survive. Interdependence is one of those core values of Unitarian Universalists. It is the I in JetPig, people. But like Coach Lasso, simply having an understanding that a rising tide lifts all boats is not enough. Such a belief requires action. Whether that means showing up at justice events with signs, cleaning up your local park, participating in committee and teamwork at your local congregation, wink, wink, or simply sitting down for a meal with your neighbor. Real leaders know it is cool to care about your community. The last chapter I'm going to share with you today is chapter 5 of the Gospel, which reads, "And let our purpose be found in hope and in service to others." Coach Lasso is given many challenges to navigate over the course of his tenure. So we do see him struggle from time to time with his mental health. But none of these challenges deter his commitment to optimism. Specifically, his firm belief that people are good and worth caring about. And so we see Lasso determined to love them despite their ability to be awful from time to time. As I mentioned a bit earlier, Lasso is not toxically positive. He doesn't demand that people deny their emotions. He's capable of sitting in sadness and anger and disappointment, but he doesn't make a home there. Rather, his true north, his home, is hope. In one memorable scene, Lasso is eating what might be the spiciest meal he's ever had at a local Indian restaurant with a tough-as-nails reporter when the reporter says, "What you are doing is irresponsible," meaning accepting a coaching position for a sport he knows nothing about, and goes on saying, "This team actually means something to this town." And Lasso says, "I love coaching. And I'm going to say this just in case you thought I didn't mean it the first time. Success to me is not about the wins and the losses. It's about helping these young fellas be the best version of themselves on and off the field. And it ain't always easy, but neither is growing up without someone believing in you." We all need someone to believe in us. Someone who knows that we're not perfect, who knows we can be mean and immature and selfish and foolish, but still believes that we are worthy of love and support. We need someone to challenge us when we need challenging, and to comfort us when we need comforting. We need someone who believes we can live into our highest ideals and potential. Universalism's core belief is that the divine both challenges us and comforts us, but never, never gives up hope for us. Never relegates us to the trash. Never tells us we are incapable of growth or redemption. And for those who do not believe in a divine being, we have one another for this. We have this congregation full of people that believe we can do the next right thing, even when we faltered 100 times before. Accepting a position of leadership is agreeing to make hope your home. There are other chapters of the gospel, one on freedom, on letting go, on not taking life too seriously, and what it means to start again. But those are for you to discover on another day. So may our leaders, both within these walls and outside of them, choose to take the gospel of Ted Lasso to heart. May they use his example so that they can lead with vulnerability, accountability, grace, teamwork, and hope. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.